Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our weekly classes on the light of David HaMelech. And today we're going to focus in on one particular element of David, something that's connected to the time of Motzei Shabbos, which is completely enveloped with the light of David, something that's connected to the land of Israel, which is representative of the space of David, but it's also something that's going to have an impact on our regular day-to-day experience and the posture that we develop in trying to find Hashem from the world of David. Because, like we've said so often, Malchus is not the place of success. David HaMelech is not necessarily, at first glance, a successful person. He has ups and downs, he has wins, but he has losses also. He has breakthroughs, but he has breakdowns. There's happiness, and there's also elements of constriction and concealment. Now, from a blank perspective of Netzach and Nitzachon and victory, David HaMelech's life is not one that is necessarily victorious. But what Rabbi Nachman introduces us to is the true way of looking at Malchus, which is the claim, Natzachti va'anatzeach, kamarti ve'egmor. I have been victorious and I will be victorious. Meaning to say that to be a melech is not to have a singular expression of victory and ease, but rather it's the confidence and the ability to experience moments of ups. And then even though there are interruptions and descents, nevertheless, to remain calm and trust that I will be victorious again. That in spite of the fact that I have fallen away from my kingship, nevertheless, I can still be king. I can be joyous because my kingship is independent of success, but rather it is something that is built into the very framework of how I experience this world. And so the mature perspective of victory that Rabbi Nachman teaches us and that is revealed in the life of David is the complexities of the ups and downs that create the beautiful picture of Malchus, the upper Daled and the lower Daled being connected with the Vav, bein ba'ayil, bein benafak, running upwards and running downwards, Ratza v'shov, to be an expert in the spiritual ascent as well as being an expert in the spiritual descent, to learn how to bridge together the two worlds of human experience, the up and the down, the simcha on the one hand and the merirus on the other hand. This was the light of David. And so one of the postures that David HaMelech teaches us is a stubbornness, an azus de kedusha, a need to search out and find that which his heart seeks, in spite of the fact that at first glance it's unsuccessful. Nevertheless, he will continue searching. Malchus does not tire. Malchus does not stop. It churns and it burns and it breaks on through to the other side over and over and over. And even though it doesn't find what its heart desires after the breakthrough, nevertheless, instead of falling into despondency and hopelessness, it garners its strength once again and it breaks on through to the other side to search and search and search. Because ultimately the search is valuable in and of itself, because Malchus abides within itself. It's not something for something else. Everything is itself in Malchus. So the effort, the result, it doesn't make much of a difference. Whatever David HaMelech needed to do, he was leaning fully into. If it was rooted in success, then David HaMelech would have stopped a long time ago. He spent his entire life searching for the place of the Beis Hamikdash, being doresh that makom, searching, 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 digging, digging, digging for Yerushalayim, only to see that he was not the one who got to build the Beis Hamikdash. But ultimately, it's the preparatory stages of David HaMelech searching without the necessity of response or reward that enables the gates of the Beis Hamikdash to open up for Shlomo, his son. The light of David HaMelech is, like Rabbi Nachman explains, Lamaha Davar Doma, to a king who asks three of his servants to take their barrels and to go down to the river and to fill the barrel up with water, and then to bring the barrel back up to the kingdom. Laborious work, tremendous effort. But after a while, two of the servants stopped bringing the barrels, and only one of the servants continued bringing the barrel. And they asked the two servants why they stopped, and they said, there are cracks in the barrel, the water doesn't remain. By the time we get up to the kingdom, all of our labor is for naught because there's nothing left in the barrel. And the king dismisses them unhappily. But to the third person who continued carrying up the barrel, he said, why did you continue bringing up the barrel even if the water is not there? Even if the water dissipates? And he says, because the command of the king was to bring the barrel back up. Nowhere did it say that I was meant to judge whether the water was still in there or not. Success is not the determinant factor in what we do in Avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem is what we do. Natzachti va'natzeach, that implies that there are going to be moments where instead of feeling nitzachon, I'm going to have a future orientation to the next level of nitzachon. That's the secret of David HaMelech, who knows how to be in the process and the goal and knows how to celebrate the process even without the goal coming out the way that we want it to be. On Motzei Shabbos, the time of David HaMelech, the time of the light of David, the emergence of the Etzem Haluz, that which remains, all of the things we've discussed. So the Zohar HaKadosh and the Arizal brings it down, and the Kavanos of Motzei Shabbos have a profound, profound way of relating to this process. That when we say Vayehi Noam, let it be pleasant, when we ask God to let the incoming week be pleasant with the pleasantness of the light of Shabbos that is now departing, the light that descended on Shabbos, an inner understanding, the ability to cope more, to see more, to hold more, to be more, to have more faith and more joy and more confidence and more ease and more calmness, comes Motzei Shabbos, that sense begins to depart. It begins to go away. And that feeling of victory that we thought that we had begins to feel like a loss. And we've spoken about the trauma of Motzei Shabbos, about being thrown from the upper realm down into the lower realm, which is why we have to calm ourselves. Al tira avdi Yaakov. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You don't say don't be afraid to somebody who doesn't feel afraid. You say don't be afraid to someone who has a reasonable purpose for fear, but you're comforting them and saying, no, 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 it's not how you think. In truth, it's good. And that which appears to be the loss of Shabbos is in truth just another way of relating to Shabbos. And what's that other way of relating to Shabbos? What are we doing when we ask Hashem to allow the light of Shabbos that's departing to turn back around and remain with us, even by way of a trace? So it's like the pasuk says, "Doime doidi litzvi," that my beloved God appears to me like a deer. That as the deer is running away, it's running away from being caught. Instead of running straight forward into the distance without any recognition of where it's running from, the deer turns its head around, and in the dark of night, the brightness of the deer's eyes catch the gaze of the person chasing after the deer. And suddenly, in that moment, there's a recognition that in spite of the fact that I'm chasing the deer, in spite of the fact that the deer is running away, in spite of the fact that it's far from me, nevertheless, in the distance, there is a slight return where the eyes of the deer, that light of the Shekhinah that's departing, that light of victory that feels to be falling away, it turns back and it says, I'm still with you. I'm still with you. You have to chase me, but I'm still with you. I'm running away not because I don't want to be with you. I'm running away because I want to cultivate the inner desire for you to yearn deeper and deeper to find that innermost point of Malchus, of Shechina, of connectivity, of Das, of Keser, of Hashra'a, of Emunah. And so Dome Doidi Letzvi, my beloved, functions like a deer who, as it's running away, it turns its head back to show that it's running away for the sake of cultivating a deeper desire, which is the secret of David HaMelech. Yismach Lev Mevakshe Hashem. Everything about David is the perpetual renewal of strength to push forward in spite of the preventions and to realize that ultimately breaking through the preventions and the desire and the willingness to move forward is not only half the battle, but that's the main battle. Everything else is a gift. The Totsa'ah, the emergence of the Beis HaMikdash, that's up to you, Hashem. For me, what I can do is I can offer you myself. And this brings us to a mashal, a beautiful mashal that Rabbeinu brought, a haunting mashal. HaMashal HaMelech v'Hatzvi, the parable of the king and the deer. The parable of the king who chased after the deer, but he wasn't able to grasp the deer. And all of his servants and his soldiers, they said after seeing the exhaustion of the king, Adonenu HaMelech nachzor, let's go back, we can't do it. It's starting to rain, let's go back. Ana HaMelech v'Amar, the king answers and he says, Ani et hatzvi muchrach latzud. I have to catch this deer. Whoever wants to leave can leave. Whoever doesn't want to stick around with me doesn't have to stick around with me. But me, I have to continue chasing after that deer. What's this deer that we're chasing after? What's the deer that Malchus is chasing after? Tzvi is Rosh Tevos Tzadik be'emunaso yichya. Tzadik be'emunaso yichya. That the tzaddik lives with faith. Faith is not accomplishment. Faith is not victory. Faith is the recognition that everything is Hashem, and that I can connect to Hashem everywhere, in every moment. And tzaddik yisoid oilam, and tzaddik be'emunaso yichya. Eretz Hatzvi, the land of Eretz Yisrael, which expands through its elastic shape, a miyota machzikas amruba, the minimal that extends itself beyond its limits to reveal the secret of the more that's contained within the less. This is the tzvi that we're chasing after. Tzaddik be'emunaso yichya. And David HaMelech says, you could go back. I'm chasing it until I find it. I'm not going to rest my eyes until I find the place of the Beis HaMikdash. And we have to be aware that even as the tzvi appears to be running away from us, it turns its head back and it's whispering to us that I want to be caught. I want Bnei Yisrael to understand Emunah. Sha'ashue Emunah. Chase after Emunah. Chase after Emunah without ever giving in to the notion that I won't be able to catch it. And this is the moichan of David HaMelech, of Rabbeinu, of the light of all lights, of what we're trying to do with regards to Mashiach Tzidkenu, to bring down the light of Geula, to celebrate the chase as much as the accomplishment, to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to chase after the Tzvi. The Tzvi always wants to be with us. Sometimes it'll appear by way of a distance, sometimes close. But Tzaddik be'emunaso yichya, we cannot rest until we find that innermost place of faith in Eretz Yisrael, be'ezras Hashem.